Welcome to another edition of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today I've got a super big treat for all of us. I'm looking forward to this, getting to know Tego Venturi a little bit better. You know him for his tech, you know him for real estate, and we're going to get to know him for who he is deep down. Hopefully, we're going to dig in a little bit. So Tego, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, and we finally connected because we're both busy, but that's good. That's
good. That is good. That is good. So real estate is a crazy thing right now, but I want out, and we will get into that. Yeah. But I want to know, Tego, are you a native to New Mexico?
No. I grew up in Michigan. I grew up in Ann Arbor. Part of the name Tego, it's kind of unusual to say the least, right? It's kind of like hero, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that. But I always joke it's my hippie parents from Ann Arbor, Michigan, that came up with it. But I don't know if they were hippies in 1964, but that's where it came from. And but when we were, I was probably 8-10 years old, we did a driving trip to the Southwest, and I fell in love with the Southwest, and I always wanted to come this way. So after school, I came to the Southwest. I've lived in Phoenix for a couple of years and went, I don't think so. Yeah. Anyway, long roundabout way, I ended up in Albuquerque, and now love Albuquerque. Been here for quite a long time.
How long have you been here?
I moved here in 1990. But I had been visiting here since the late 80s.
So we lovingly call it the land of entrapment.
Yes.
Well, why do you think that we do that?
I think for me, it's a small big town or a big small town, something like that, right? You kind of have everything, but I love the outdoors and the fact that, and I'm a big skier, right? That's a whole nother part of my life. But, the fact that you can have these mild winters like we're having right now, relatively mild. I know everybody's gas bill's not telling them that, but the winters are relatively mild. And then we still have the mountains and the desert and all that stuff. I just like the community, and it's not too big.
It's not. And the quality of life.
Yeah.
The cost of living here.
Yeah. The variety, uniqueness, the culture. I know, culture is an overused term, but it is. It's very unique for sure, and that's great. And it's unique in a lot of places, no doubt about that. But, I just fell in love with this place.
Okay.
So and then I fell in love with my wife here, so that has a lot to do with it too. So
you met Tracy here. Is she a native?
No.
Okay.
She's a Midwest girl also. So we met here. Again, it's probably too long of a story to go into, but we met here both after our divorces, our first marriages, and we've made a great life and a great business together.
Oh my gosh, you so have. How long have you been married?
We got married in 98, so 25 years I think is what we're at, and we were together a little longer than that, but basically we got married pretty quick, within a year after meeting. Yeah.
All right, so 90.
We had both had a practice run on marriage, so we knew it was right.
You knew what you did wrong in the first one?
Oh yeah.
and then made it go work.
Yeah.
Well, you two are so much fun together. It's fun to see you together. You've been happily married for 25 years. So I didn't get enough of how did you, what did you do when you moved here? You moved here by yourself?
No, actually my ex grew up in Corrales. So that's part of the reason that I ended up here. I was living in Durango at the time when I met her and had made a lot of visits here. And then at one point I moved here with her, and that's how I landed here and started my career. I was in a tech business here, or it was a sales job, and I've always done, well, I shouldn't say that, not always done sales, but it was a sales job, but it had to do, it was more on the tech side and computer networking stuff and infrastructure, and that was a great career for me.
No doubt. You are such a computer person. You're tech crazy.
Well,
do you have a nickname?
No.
Okay,
no,
just wondering.
No. Well, Tracy calls me the Stat-O-Matic because I always, have a stat on the real estate market, but that's a different, that's a whole nother world too.
I know. It's fun to have so many worlds.
Yes. Well, and I will say, have you heard the term talent stack?
No, I have not.
Talent stacking. I learned this from a book called How to Fail at Almost Anything and Still Win Bigly, or Still Win Big, and it's by Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. And that was a big book for me because it gives you so many not simple, but basically systems on how to be successful in life. And one of the systems is talent stacking, meaning if you're really good at one thing, okay, for example, let's say you're an economist. Let's use that as an example. You're a really good economist, right? But all you know is how to analyze data. But you don't know, let's say, computer coding, or you don't understand communication skills or whatever. It's the idea is if you can have multiple skills that you're good at, maybe not the very best in the world at, but you add those all together, now you have a very unique talent stack that nobody else has. And so I've used that model in my life in the sense of I go deep on how to analyze data, right? I'm not an economist, but I play one on TV, right? I'm a tech person. I really understand that, right? I understand systems and processes, right? I've gone very deep on that. I understand communications, right? This sounds like bragging. My point is when you stack different skills on top of each other, now you have a unique set of skills that nobody else has. Take, for example, somebody who goes to school for engineering, right? They're an engineer, and they go find a job as an engineer. But what if they also have the skill of computer programming as a coder? Now they're not just competing with all the other engineers. Now they're only competing with the people that have that tech stack, that you call it tech stack. I know that's the term we use too, but it's the skill stack, right? So that's to me that's one of the coolest things that I don't think people take advantage of, is that if you have a lot of different skills and they all complement each other, you can do so much more than if you're just in your narrow focus.
And I want to tell you, I know your heart, and it did not sound like bragging. It sounds like you're trying to help me and our listeners go to the next level.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
And that books is a huge way to do it. How many books a year do you read?
Oh my gosh. Generally my goal has been one a month, right? So 12 a year. And I've read a lot of books. Lately, what'll happen is I'll start reading a book and you get to a certain point and you go, okay, I got it. Right. And I don't finish a lot of books lately. Do you know what I mean? Is that just me? Or
Okay. This brings up a story, because there was a book you told me that I needed to read.
Okay.
And it was about health, because I noticed, oh my goodness, there's half of Tego is gone.
Yeah.
And so you told me to read it, and you said to me very clearly, very good instructions. You said, you probably want to skip to the end of this book. And I didn't remember that as I'm laboring through the book. And then I finally got to the end and I'm like, oh yeah, he told me that the rest of it is really hard to read. So it's hard for me to believe that you read through all that and got to the end of that one and now you skip the ends of books.
Yeah. Well, some of them. And you know what I mean? So like the Happiness Advantage, great book, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think at one point though, I was kind of like, okay, I got it, right?
Right.
But there's so many good books. I mean, let's just talk about books. The books that have really impacted me were Tony Robbins, back in the 80s, right? And which one? I forget which one it was. One of his first books, right?
Unlimited Power.
Yeah, I think it was Unlimited Power. One of those things. Yeah, Unlimited Power. That was it. And that was an awakening for me, because they don't teach you that stuff in school, right? Right. Success skills, so much. Needless to say, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Right. I mean, that book from a professional and business standpoint for Tracy and I changed everything. I mean, just changed everything.
So can I interrupt you on that? That book changed everything. You don't just have a real estate business. You have several businesses, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Does that correlate to your other businesses as well?
Gary Keller, and when I've been with Gary Keller and his teachings, it's always about, you're always looking for another opportunity, right? You're always keeping your eyes open for opportunity. And we've used that well. And I say we, because Tracy and I really are a team.
No doubt.
Right? I couldn't have done this and I, I don't know. She probably could have done it without me, but I couldn't have done it without her. The success that we've had in our real estate business and our life, and everything we've done. It's that whole idea of keeping your eyes open for opportunities, because so many times an opportunity will come across and you missed it because you weren't tuned to it. It's that whole
reticular
activating system, right? And so, the millionaire real estate agent, helped with that. The other book, which was, you can tell that Gary took some of it from this book, was the E-Myth. Have you seen that one?
I did, but I don't remember it.
And that book had a lot of impact on me from being in business for yourself and understanding. So that was a great one, and it's been around. Michael Gruber, I think it is, been around for a long time. But man, if you're going to be an entrepreneur or be in business for yourself, that's a must read, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. We will put all of the books that Tego is recommending and podcasts. We'll dig into that too.
Oh yeah,
and we'll put that in the comments so that you can
find them. I don't
them.
Get that wonky, but yeah.
Okay, so any other books that have just totally changed your paradigm?
Well, the How to Fail, that book, How to Fail at Almost Anything, Scott Adams, or How to Fail and Still Win, basically. That one for sure. The Defining Decade, which is. It's interesting because I read that book I was probably in my 40s maybe or 50s, but it's the defining decade, how to make your 20s work, I think, something like that. So it's about being in your 20s and what you should be doing in your life in your 20s to make sure that you launch into your 30s and into your 40s, your greatest earning years, ready to go and having your network. It was all about that book is really about your network. And any kids, I say kids, 20s or anybody, the Defining Decade's a great book. And that was actually a Gary Keller recommendation years ago.
Okay. That's
a really good one. There's so many good books out there. That's the problem. Start with Why, anything Simon Sinek. Yeah, there's so much out there.
Isn't it wonderful?
Well, Diana Kokoska years ago, who was, a big mentor within the Keller Williams world, she said, I think she called it the growth plan or the education. What is your growth plan for the year? How many books are you going to read? What seminars are you going to go to? What are you going to learn? What skills are you going to add to your talent stack? She didn't put it that way, but basically that's what she was saying.
So the talent stack, do you find that similar to habit stacking from Atomic Habits?
Kind of, but actually Atomic Habits came from, he stole those ideas from Scott Adams from that book. Not stole, he gave him credit for it. But what I'm saying is that book, Atomic Habits, how huge it was, he took what was in that How to Fail book and then made it a little bit more digestible and presented it a little bit differently. But yes, it's very much so.
Okay.
Systems over goals. Have you ever heard that one?
No.
And that's also from that book. And that's basically what Atomic Habits is systems over goals. So a goal is, think about the book, The One Thing, right? Again, another great book, Gary Keller book in this case, how a system is just a process of doing something, right? A goal is kind of this mushy thing that's kind of out there, right? But if you have a system that's, I'm going to talk to 20 people today, right? Now we're talking about our business or any sales business, right? Or any business where your livelihood counts on connecting with people, that's the system, right? The system is I'm going to talk to 20 people today, right? And then and then it's a domino effect, like The One Thing, right?
Right.
So,
right.
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just sitting here repeating a bunch of books, but there's a reason those books are so successful because they're true.
And they work. So the proof is in your life so without feeling like you're bragging in any way, what are some of the things that you're really proud of? Why should the people listening listen to what you have to say?
Ooh, Wow. I don't know. I mean, I have to prove myself, right? I mean, let me say this. I don't think anybody should take anybody's advice unless they can see that it's worked for that person. You know, in our world, that there's a lot of people out there selling advice that's maybe not that good.
Right. Right. They've never done it themselves.
Yes.
And I can attest that you've more than done it. But so let's just put this matrix on it. You are in Gary's top 100. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean?
Oh, it just means we have a great opportunity to network with some of the best entrepreneurs in the country. And
why is that important?
Well, oh my gosh. You know the answer, right?
Yes.
I will say there was a couple times in our career, our real estate business, where once we made certain connections and started connecting with certain people, it opened our eyes to possibility. We were with a group called anyway, they did radio and TV advertising, but it was a network of real estate agents that were very high producing, and being around people that are doing things at a much higher level than you ever imagined possible opens your eyes up to what is possible, right?
Yes. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with, according
Correct.
to Jim Rohn.
Right.
So has every time that you've gone from, we talk about the stair step.
Yeah.
And has every time you've gone up, has it been because of the relationships that you're involved in?
Partly. Part of it is the breakthrough and breakdown thing too, right. And that's, what's her name? Brown. Brene Brown, right? It's the breakthrough and breakdown, so you push yourself through these breakthroughs, and then you might have a breakdown, right? That's just the way it is, folks, right? That's what happens, right? And define that however you want, but and then you go, okay, recast, reset. Okay, what's the next thing, right? What's the next thing? And every time you take it to the, you learn something about it. And that's what something, the whole failure way forward thing is. You try stuff, works or doesn't work. And then you lick your wounds sometime and then you do the next thing.
So at your level in life, I think people look and they think, gosh, everything is just easy for them now. Now everything is just...
It's not easy right now.
Tell me. Tell them.
It's never easy.
You mean you don't ever hit this level where then it's just...
Coasting?
Yes.
Heck no. Of course not.
Why?
Of course not. Because, well, of course, everybody has those days where they go, you know what? I just want to be the Walmart greeter, right? That's the classic saying. It's like, you know what? I'm done. I just want to be the Walmart greeter, right? We all have that. I mean, that's just the way it is. However, part of it is you have certain responsibilities, right? Part of it is this is what you do. This is what you love to do, and you dust yourself off and you go do the next thing. But you're always reinventing. I think that's the better way to put it. Is you always are reinventing. Like, okay, great, we've done that. Now what's the next thing? Okay, we've done that. Now what's the next thing? Now what's you think about, you go to different seminars or events or whatever kind of networking events, and you see people doing things and they're doing this, and you get all these ideas, and you come back to your own business and suddenly you're just bogged down in your business again. And one of our early coaches, said, just take one thing that you learned at this event and implement that, right? Once you got that down, then work on the next thing. I'm guilty of the shotgun approach too. I will say I get all over the place, but
but you're looking for progress, not perfection, right?
Well, for sure. Let me something I learned just recently about myself. There's so we talked about Simon Sinek and finding it starts with why, right? So the big why, right? In the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, they talk about the why. What's your why? What motivates you? What gets you up every day? What keeps you moving forward? And what drives you other than just making a buck? Obviously, we got to take care of, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all that, right? I mean, we got certain things, but at a certain point you go, okay, now what is the next thing that's driving me? And I think getting clear on your why and what moves you and motivates you is a huge deal. And just recently, I kind of always knew this, but I've never really gone through it, the exercise. There's actually somebody here in Albuquerque that has the Why Institute. And he does I guess it's a test. It's kind of like the DISC test or the Myers-Briggs or, some of those tests where you kind of figure out, what you're all about. But what he's doing is trying to narrow down, what is your why? What is your big why that really moves you and motivates you and get you excited? And the thing that I found, and there's like 9 of them that he came up with, and there are things like challenge, right? So maybe you're somebody that's challenged, right? Or maybe you're somebody that's finding a better way. Maybe you're somebody that's about relationships, right? And I forget what the term is, but there's 9 of them. And mine was simplify, which at first I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And then I started to think about it, and it's like, no, that is. It's like I want to find a better way to do it. I want it simpler. I want the process to work. And that's just, and it's just like any of those things. Understanding how you're wired really helps. You've obviously done the DISC. We have the KPA. We've done the, so yeah, I mean, that I would highly recommend for anybody. Any of those type of tests to understand how you're wired and what motivates you is huge. That was a big breakthrough for Tracy and I.
Well, you're the manager of you.
Well, right.
Right? No one else can manage Tego.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well,
I mean, well.
I don't know. I'm married. I'm just kidding. I say that lovingly and jokingly because
I love you, Tracy.
We make a great team.
You do.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. And if you were both just alike, one of you wouldn't be necessary.
Well, and that's great. And that was another breakthrough in our business, is recognizing that we do have these different things. At the time, we did the thing called the AVA, and this was before the KPA.
Okay.
And we had a coach, a business coach, that helped us through that and recognize, okay, this is your lane, Tracy. This is your lane, Tego. And, this is what you're good at. This is what excites you. This is what keeps you energized. And if you try to do the other thing, you're going to drain yourself, tire yourself out, and get burned out pretty fast. And so recognizing what her strengths are, what she's good at, where she should be versus where I was, that was huge for our business. And then we do that, with the team, obviously. Anytime you're working with a team or working with people, is you recognize, what are their strengths, and you put those people in those seats on the bus, right?
So that's like a whole nother podcast
Oh, I know.
But I do want to go there just a little bit, because you have such an amazing team. I know that a lot of it is the systems are in place. Mm-hmm. But just in preparation of this podcast, I went onto your website and I looked at the smiles on every one of those. I mean, it was like every one of them I wanted them to be my best.
We have a good photographer that coaches them well.
There you go.
Yeah, no.
There you go. No, but they're great people. How do you attract them? Do you go hunt for them?
Attraction mostly, and we've never been big at, doing big recruiting pushes, or, we do that. I mean, we do that. We're always talking to people about the business, and, we've had a lot of people come and go, and I know anybody that's got any type of business and they have employees or people, and, in our case, they're not employees. We have, independent contractors, but we also have employees, staff, right?
Sure.
So we have 1099s and W-2s, right? But it's always tough, the hiring and, sometimes firing, or, parting ways, and people leaving, and it's hard. It's an emotional roller coaster. And I think anybody in the real estate business that wants to do the team thing needs to recognize that's going to come, and it's going to hurt.
Still to this day?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And with, we have attempted to create something of value that people want to be part of. And, our job as team leaders is to bring value to them, right? And help them get whatever goal they're looking for. And, does that always work out? No. And it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Well, on the flip side, tell me one of your favorite, of all these years that you've been a team leader, where you brought someone in that you almost didn't bring them in, maybe they had some potential, but you just didn't think they were going to quite do it. And then, wow, look at their lives today.
Yes, we've had lots of those, and those are super satisfying. And I don't want to name names,
okay,
but
that would be a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the beginning part. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my place, because those are those
Their
people's stories, right? That's their story, and they can tell their story. But we feel like we've seen that. Well, and they've told us that. So yeah.
Right. Very gratifying.
Some with us, some not any longer, but that's fine. They've gone on to bigger and better things, and that's great.
That is great. So you're talking about your team and leverage as one of the things that Keller Williams really preaches. Leverage. What does that mean in your world?
Well, for me, that's a hard one, because I am not a delegator. I like doing everything myself. And so it is a tough piece, and Tracy has to keep me on track on that, but yeah, I've gotten better with that. And the idea is we shouldn't be doing things that somebody else could be doing for us if we have skills that person doesn't have that are more valuable. That makes sense? I think that made sense.
Financially valuable.
Yeah, well, right. Well, maybe we have a skill that we just can't delegate out, right? And it has more value, well, financially. I mean, that's just the way we measure everything, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. Not unfortunately, just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, delegating. I just want to say one thing before we run out of time.
Okay.
This idea of keeping your eyes open for opportunity is huge. And there's a lot of people in our world that do that and get that, right? If in our world it's investing in real estate, right? We've bought a bunch of real estate now. It's been a huge wealth security for us. But it's also business opportunities. I've had a couple side businesses, not side businesses, but affiliate type businesses that relate to real estate. And, one in my opinion failed miserably, but you know what? It didn't stop me. We keep looking, right? We keep looking for the next thing, and just keeping your eyes open for opportunity is a big deal.
It is huge.
And it may be helping somebody else out, I don't know, investing in a person. It could be whatever it is, but just recognizing that there's opportunities around us all the time, and many times we just don't see them.
What is one of the funnest things that you've been able to do for someone else because of the wealth that you and Tracy have built?
Wow. Couple things. Actually, I'll tell you this, because I was sitting in the parking lot before I came in here to record this, talking to a friend, acquaintance, kind of vendor, client, I don't know what you want to call them, but and I'm doing a loan for him to help him out with something he's got going on, and I'm able to do that with no problem, right? So that that's a small example. I've done some hard money loans for real estate, because it's what I know, it's what I understand, I get it, right? And again, help people that maybe don't have the funds to do something that they really want to do and feel like they can do. Again, help out. Now, am I making a buck? Yeah, of course. But my point is we're able to do some of those things.
Sure.
You know what I love to do?
What do you
and I know
love
this
to do?
this is I don't know if this is as altruistic as it sounds, but I love buying houses that have just been neglected, unloved, and really, just a house that doesn't deserve that. Okay, and we've seen them right in our business. We've seen them all the time, and really bringing it back. And obviously, I'm making a buck, right? I hate being called a flipper. I don't like that because it's this connotation. But Tracy always says, you always over-improve it. You always make them nicer than they need to be. It's like, well, I want them nice. I want them to be great homes for somebody, and they deserve it. And so, but of course, we've made money doing that, and it's good. I generally don't sell houses. We buy and fix up. I prefer the long-term hold strategy. That's mine. So we could do a whole thing about real estate investing, but I know you had Robbie in here not too long ago and talking about that. But
we can do it again, Tego, if you're willing to come back, because we can't get enough. I mean, just Robbie and all the other people that we are exposed to. How important is Keller Williams?
Well, let me put it this way. Having a network in whatever your business it's everything. And I go back to that book, The Defining Decade, because that's what she talks about. Like when you're in your 20, you need to be putting your network together and building your network, because it's all about connections. And I've been pretty purposeful. So I'm, volunteer at the association, for example, right? I'm very engaged at the Realtor Association here in town. A lot of that has to do with, one, I want to have a say in what happens, and I want better systems. Can you imagine that? And I want things simplified. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
But also it's making those connections and knowing people, right? And there's a group here in town called the New Mexico Council of Exchangers, which is a realtor group that's all about creative deals and stuff. Again, it's that networking, and so having a network and connecting with people is important. But back to real estate investing, for example, real estate investing, that is such a broad category. Like what Robbie does. Robbie Faith, we were talking about, yeah, he does. He does the wholesaling thing, and that, right? That's one little tiny piece of the entire world, right? There's people that buy and sell real estate contracts, right? I mean,
right.
That's a whole other world, right? There's hard money lending, there's fix and flip, there's buy and hold, there's BRRRR, right? I don't know if you know BRRRR, but BRRRR's a thing, right? There's house hacking. It just goes on. And so when people say, well, I want to be a real estate investor, it's like, well, what does that mean? And we're just talking residential now. Like commercial, that's a whole other world.
So give our people books or podcasts if they want to just see what investing in real estate is about.
Well, Bigger Pockets, I think most people are familiar with. Bigger Pockets has got a lot of good stuff. Unfortunately, Bigger Pockets has a lot of stuff. They put out a lot of content, which can get a little overwhelming. I think any of those books like BRRRR, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. That's what BRRRR stands for, right? And that's a strategy I've used, and that's kind of my niche, right? Tell you what, if you really want to get into understanding the finances of real estate investing, take CCIM 101. Okay. Which I've done. And now CCIM is the commercial, I forget what the CCIM stands for, but it doesn't matter. But it's geared toward more commercial and analyzing commercial real estate investment and the finances around that. So you learn things like net present value and internal rate of return, and all these things, and that's one of the best classes I've taken, and that's a 4-day full day class, just the 101. There's actually 102, 103, and 104 as well. But I only took the 101 because it really is about the numbers and the finances and understanding yield on an investment, long-term yield. There's so much to it.
You should see how much this brought you to life.
Oh,
this is your thing. You're just yes.
I love this stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
So we will definitely, if you're willing, have you back, and we'll just do nothing but real estate investing, and not just real estate, but like you said, buying the paper, doing all of it.
There's Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and I think that's just it is, I think this is true, not just for that, for example, is find your lane and stay in it. I know you've seen it. I've seen it. People bouncing around. They do this and then they do this and then they try this and then they try that. And then, oh, nothing's working. It's like, well, okay, how long did you stick with it? How long did you actually really work at it before you said, okay, this isn't working? And that's okay. You got to do that, right? And that's one thing that that I do all the time is I try something. We try it. It works or it doesn't work. And then you move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? But it's interesting because we did radio advertising here years ago. We still do some radio advertising, but the guy with the company we're working with the agency, the ad agency, he's like, if you're going to do radio advertising, he said, this is not a 2-month thing. He said 6 months minimum, right? You got to commit to it and do it, right? It's just like, so in real estate, there's the farming, right? Where you send a postcard to a neighborhood. Do you know how many times I've received a postcard from a real estate agent at my house in Corrales? One time.
Probably most of them.
I mean, but there's a couple. Michael Dunn, he's consistent. Every month, every 2 months, something like that, I've got another postcard from him. It's the same thing with reaching out to your database. It's the same thing with branding yourself online and doing social media, right? I see people do social media and think, oh, I'm going to do social media and it's going to get me all this business. Like, well, you can't do it once. You can't do it twice. You can't do it even 20 times. It is a long-term game.
Kind of a compound interest kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so what is some of the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, I got to go to Gary Keller, of course. And it's, you don't have to invent it all. It's all been done before. You just need to basically, what do they call it?
Implement?
R&D, rip off and duplicate, right?
Yes.
But then you tweak it to work for you, right? And that's what he says is, you take what's been done before, the systems and models that have been done before, you follow those systems and models that have been done before, and then, you experiment, right? Around the edges. You don't just jump in and think, oh, I've got this great idea and nobody's ever done this before. No, probably somebody has done it before.
Right.
And there's always, there's always going to be some variations to it, but many times it's just variations on everything that's been done. Obviously, with social media and a lot of that stuff, is very different than just 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now we've got AI and everything going on with that, and that's a whole nother conversation.
It is. I think we could do this all day. I cannot thank you enough for pouring into us, and we're looking forward to you coming back and giving us all kinds of wealth building ideas.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks.
Tego.
Thanks, Kira.
Bye-bye.
Bye.